What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? All right, we having a great day. Are you having a great day? I'm having a great day. We're springing forward. Does that mean it's spring? Does that mean it's supposed to be warming up? We had a warm winter, so we thank God for that. So anyway, we having a good time with these interviews and this show. I just want to do a little rundown. We've been doing some interviews, and we've been talking about Black history, Black interviews, not interviews, Black inventors. Um, Black history. We talked about the Confederate flag. We talked about critical race theory. We talked about relationships, different level relationships, family relationships, all types of relationships. So we can be hitting those subjects again. We've been talking business, finance, and finding a purpose. So we are talking about a lot of different subjects. So whenever you see us coming on the air, tune in, tune in, tune in. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go to my page. See if I can share it to my personal page. Share and copy. So y'all can do that. Share the link, share the link, share the link. Hit Facebook. I'm doing it real fast on the fly. I'm producing the show while I'm hosting the show. Come on. Put it right there. And paste. I'm sorry. Where's paste? Let me get it together. Paste. Post. There we go. Are you ready? I was stalling too, wait for some people to get online. All right. We got a great show for you today. We got a great interview for you today. You know what? I had no idea I was working with somebody that was this great. I need to talk to her husband because I ain't know all that stuff. I just didn't know. We are going to be interviewing and talking to and hearing from a great international speaker, a best-selling international author, and also a successful Sister Society Women of the Year. She was the Woman of the Year. Welcome. All right, let me get my other sound effect ready. Hold on. I got this. Hey, I was ready today. Watch this. I'm slow. I'm sorry for slow. Come on, fool. Here we go. Y'all ready? Introducing. Give everybody give her a round of applause. We are welcoming Dr. Kathy Barnes.
Hey.
They're clapping for you.
I hear it. I love the sound.
All right. How are you today?
I am awesome. How are you? It's been a long, busy day, but it's good. It's cold.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I had to put got my sweater on.
Yeah,
we got my jacket.
Too.
But we can't complain. We cannot complain. We've been blessed with this warm weather down here.
We have.
All right. As I said, we are in March, which we are celebrating Women's History Month.
Yes.
And I invited this great woman to tell us about where she came from, what she went through, and how she got to where she is now. I was reading over some of your, we can get into some of that later. Well, let's go get started. Tell us about yourself.
Wow, that's always such a broad question when people say, listen, tell us about yourself. What you want to know? I have gone through so many iterations and changes in who I am and who I present as and what I'm a little country girl from Gainesville is where we like to start. Yeah, a little country girl from Gainesville. I've been, just went through school system there. Almost didn't graduate from high school. I like to tell that story because it was one where it was just craziness and just having
your choices.
Some were my choices. Some was definitely just lack of knowledge and not interested in digging into the things where I really should have been focused, like credits. That was important. Getting out of high school, that was important. That was important. And I liked it when I tell that story. I talk to people about, just understanding that no matter where you start, you can always start over. And people
Mhm.
miss that sometimes. No matter where you start, you can always start again. And we like to say, keep going, keep going, keep going. But sometimes keeping going on that same path is not what you need to do. Sometimes you need to step off and start over. And I had a very interesting childhood. One that as many of you know, I mean, I was molested as a child. I watched someone murdered. They fell on my foot. So when we talk about kind of like life and trauma and things that happen in our lives and how they play a role in how you make decisions throughout your life, that is something that's really true and real. And until you get a handle on those things that have happened in your life, you and start to really deconstruct some of the words that have been spoken to you, some of the thoughts that have gone through your head, and you really start to deconstruct those things, you find yourself in a situation where you are in a cycle of repeating systems and living in systems and repeating cycles of things that
Mhm.
are often destructive, just destructive.
Yeah, a lot of you see what's going on in your environment and you just accept it. And it's like that's the outcome. That's what's going to be.
Right, right, right. And it doesn't have to be. It definitely doesn't have to be. I set out on a mission once I got myself out of high school to be a high school teacher and to help make sure other people get out of high school. So I mean, you can use those things to catapult you into much better places, into other situations, if you really and truly start to just deconstruct that negative foundation that is under you. And I grew up in a house where I didn't know we were poor, didn't had no idea we were poor. It never felt that way. Always had fun. Parent, great mom. I mean, just my dad died fairly early. He died at 46. So him dying fairly early. We had a very interesting relationship and very interesting life. But it was just a lot. There was a lot that was going on, and very easily my path could have gone very differently, very very easily, very easily. Never was a drug addict. That's not my testimony. It was never had an opportunity to be, never used drugs like that. Wasn't a big drinker and all this other stuff. So those kind of things have never really been my vice. Um, it was just self-destructive kind of things where I just could not find value in who I was at that space. I think that even drove me to do some things in my career and other things where I just could not find a finish line because I never thought it was good enough. Nothing. And I remember the day pausing and having a conversation with my daughter and telling her, you know what? I'm done. If like if I haven't done enough for you to be proud at this point, you just won't be proud. I don't know what else to do, but using that as an excuse to keep pushing myself and to instead of dealing with really what it was I need to do it for her. But then after you do all that and you're still not there, then it really wasn't for her. It's something else that's out there. It's something else that you're missing. So I'll shut up so you can ask more
No.
questions.
So you basically something you got to do it for yourself. Far when you said, a lot of people like even myself, I was, same thing. It's good when you're growing up poor and you really don't realize that you really you still survive. I think I knew it, but you learn to live with it, and God still bless you. And
Yeah,
then at the same time, you can look up like, oh man, they got so much more than us. And then there's people looking at you and like, man, you got way more than them.
correct,
Like, you just be satisfied. I
correct,
learned to be satisfied.
correct.
Um, so a lot of people when they in situations like that and they find a way out,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times they don't look back. But you
Mm-hmm.
said you wanted to be a teacher, so you at an early age you was already willing and wanting to reach back and help pull others up out of it.
Yeah, it was a thing. Like I didn't. I mean, high school was. I mean, I had a blast in high school, and just had a blast. It was good times in high school. It was fun. I did my work. I did not graduate because I had like, well, I did graduate. Let me not say that. I didn't have to go to night school to graduate to get out on time because I just refused to not graduate with my class. But I didn't do that because I didn't have good grades. I did that because I got in that situation not because I didn't have decent grades, and I got in that situation because I didn't follow through. There were things that I was supposed to do that I just didn't follow through on. And I didn't listen. I didn't want to listen to people who I thought, had somehow failed to keep me safe. Um, in places, I blame a lot of people from failing to keep me safe, for not knowing what was going on with me and not protecting me in that space. So I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear what a lot of folks had to say to me. And that still sticks. I still don't want to hear a whole lot of stuff what a whole lot of people want to say. But there were things that, you know, I had a guidance counselor who failed me. And I say she failed me in just giving up and saying to me that I can figure it out on my own. And I did. I did figure it out on my own. I just figured it out like 2 semesters before I was supposed to graduate, and realized I had a bunch of credits. They just weren't in the right stuff. So I had to go to night school to get, I made my prom dress. I wish I had the picture here. If we were sitting in a different place, I could show it to you because my mom will not release that picture. But I mean, that prom dress, I had to go to night school and take a performing arts class. So I took sewing, and I took a sewing class, and to get that credit because I didn't have it. And I mean, when we're sitting in the auditorium and the people are talking about that, I was probably, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I can tell you that. I was probably somewhere eating chips or just something crazy, something that was there. Again, didn't get in a whole lot of trouble. It wasn't like I was, getting in trouble in school. It was just stuff. It was just stuff. And it pulled me off my path. It really did. Well, it could have pulled me off my path. But, those kind of things, when you think back on, someone asked me, I was being interviewed on a radio show about 2 weeks ago, and they asked me, if you could go back and change some of the decisions you made, what would you change? And I was like, I would probably listen more. I would listen more to what was, what was being said, and not think everyone was out to get me. That is a heavy burden to carry, is to think that you're not safe, and that there's not a safe place for you, and that everybody is out to get you. Like everyone wants something from you, and no relationship is really genuine. And that's a hard weight to carry as a middle school and high school child. That's a hard weight to carry, a heavy weight to carry.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people ask that if it's something that you can change in the past. But the way I look at it, if you change something in the past and you made it through it, you're not going to be the same person that you are today. And the people
Correct.
that you have, the people that you are here now to be able to reach back and help, you won't be able to help them because you didn't go through the same thing. So it's sometimes you don't know. Should you change it or should you not change it? I
Nah,
guess you made it through it, so we might
nah,
as well let's embrace
yeah,
it.
nah. I'm not changing. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything, even the hard times, even the things. Like I said, I literally, someone was murdered, shot in front of me, and fell on my foot. Like that's how close I was to that situation.
You could have
Um,
got shot too.
yeah, yeah, definitely could have got shot too. And and even in that situation, I mean, it was one that, even with that, I had no real feelings. Like I see a therapist. I've seen a therapist for a long time. I encourage therapy. Um, and I was talking to a therapist, and you know, she asked, she asked me, she said, do you feel like you're devoid of love? Do you feel like you don't feel that emotion? And I was like, yeah, I don't. I don't feel that emotion. And at that time, I think that part of my being had been so battered and abused that it was not a thing. I did not feel that emotion. That was something where I did not think it was like a real thing. I thought everything was situational. I didn't think it was real. And I didn't really care. So about a lot of things. And even when that happened, I didn't have fear in that moment at all. I didn't have, because I at that point it was like whatever. And I lived in that cycle of being kind of a person who was literally devoid of what people would consider to be normal feelings and emotions. And some of it, I still am devoid of those things. It's I'm working on it. I'm continuing to work on it through therapy. But there's some things where I just don't have the kind of emotions or level of emotion that people normally have, and it that was stripped from me at such a young age that that part still has not fully returned. It just hasn't. In full transparency, it just hasn't. So people ask, how is it so easy for you just to walk away from that? I don't know if it's easy, um, but I can. How can you turn on and off relationships? If I have decided that you are detrimental to me, I can turn that off. Now, that doesn't mean that I dislike you. That doesn't mean that I don't want to do you. That just means that the emotional attachment it's like a switch. And that's something that I'm continuing to work on through therapy, because that's not good. you know, that's not always good. It's not always bad either, but it's not always good. So I have to be mindful of those things and really work on that internally, almost daily, to try to make sure that I'm checking in with myself, and that I'm not allowing some barriers that may have been created a long time ago to hinder me from being in this moment and operating the way that I should in this moment.
Right. So I think a lot of people, they block their feelings as a like a survival
Mm-hmm.
instinct. And probably, like, I guess, I'm say guess, a lot of stuff that you was going through, you
Mm-hmm.
try to block those feelings. And I got to say, I did the same thing growing up. I
Yeah.
didn't. um, and even to this day, I still have the problem with showing feelings and emotions. Even I remember a time. I know this is not about me, but I was going to tell the
It
story.
is. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had an uncle. I love my uncle. He was getting old, and that almost pretty much like my best friend at a particular time.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured he was gonna die. So that's my thinking. He might die soon. So I need to separate myself from him and not spend much time with him,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to hurt. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to cry when he
Mm-hmm.
died. So
Mm-hmm.
that's me. Like, now I look back, man, that's kind of cold to do that, to block my feelings. I separated and not mess it up, but he did eventually die. And say that I went away in the Navy, and I think he passed away when I was in the Navy. But I made a conscious decision to
Mm-hmm.
push him away because I didn't want to hurt. So that's me trying to control my feelings. That's
Right.
not human.
Right. 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 No, no, I get that. I get that. And blocking sometimes is a safety mechanism. That is a safety mechanism. it, I think that we have to be mindful, though, that those things exist and that we have propensity to do that, or have a tendency to do that, so that when we see it coming, we can figure out ways to navigate around it. And that's what I've been spending several years now working on, navigating around that, because I literally, my dad said this a long time ago. He said, "Girl, when you cut somebody off, you cut them off. They could be on fire and you won't spit on them." And I was like, yeah, true. True story. True story. And that's not I like to believe that I'm in a much better place now. I haven't had somebody that I cut off be on fire, so I don't know, but I'd like to think that that would not be the case in this instance, because it's that simply is just not healthy. um but the thing is, too, the other side of it is, I don't hold any bad feelings against you. You just don't exist. And that in itself is something that is real. That's a real thing that I have to fight through. I literally can look at you and not see you, and that is a real thing. That's a real thing.
Wow. So you survived the abuse. You survived seeing murders and about to be murdered. You survived um, about to not graduate. Okay, so I want to go what happened after graduation. But before we do that, when we at that area of graduation, I got a question for you. I'm gonna pop it up on the screen.
Okay.
Are you able to see that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I say, what advice would you give me as a high school student trying her hardest to get her relationship right with God and but keep coming across these hard battles against the
Mm-hmm.
devil, and has had strong feelings that I am not good enough for anything in life?
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that question. Thank you for asking that, and thank you for your transparency in the question. The advice that I would give is that it has to be personal, and you have to find a way to um, figure out where those feelings come from. Often we try to fix feelings, and feelings are really just kind of the aftermath. That's the outward expression of what is deeper inside. So I would say let's deconstruct that thing. Let's figure out what is it that's making you feel like you're not good enough. For me, it was all of the negativity that had been poured into me. I had and this just came out just a few, geez, probably maybe 5 years ago, where I was speaking again at a Joe, I think you may have even known about this. I was speaking at a conference, and Rance Allen was there, and my aunt was there trying to help out or do something with um Rance out. She was doing something. I don't know what she was doing, but she was sitting in the audience, and she was, just very proud of her niece up on stage speaking with, all of these celebrities or whatever it was, whoever they were. And she was so very proud. And it popped into my head why I had this feeling that I just never really liked her. And what popped up was, you're sitting here so proud now, but I remember clear as day her standing in the kitchen at my uncle's house, and standing in the kitchen, and she looked at me and she said, you ain't gonna never be nothing. You a waste of air." And that for some reason, all of this time, I knew that there was something about her that just rubbed me wrong every time I saw her, but it came to me clear as day. And I had to deconstruct that thing, because I'm like, if I allow that to play around in my head like it's real, as I'm standing here and she's applauding me in this audience, that's not true. So her statement that was stuck in my head, and had been stuck in my head obviously for many, many years, it's simply not true. So, giving advice to that high school student, it would really be to set a goal that is so important to you, so very important, that none of the outside noise matters. None of it matters. For me, it was getting to college, graduate. I had to go to University of Florida. That was my goal. And getting into the University of Florida was the hardest thing. It was hard then, it's hard now. I get it. But that was my goal in life. So I had to figure out, what is it that I needed to do. I could not graduate. One, how am I going to not graduate? I mean, I'm office aide. I'm running around playing with aggravating people. I cannot graduate. But not only was it that, I had to go to the University of Florida. So what I had to do was I had to do a couple of things. I had to, in terms of we got to also look at that term, get life right with God. Um, God is right already. What we have to do is get ourselves aligned with what God is saying to us about us and letting that drive us. I would say spend the time learning what God says about you first. It's a lot of stuff we can learn from the Bible. But if you are dealing with deficiencies, or you're wondering and worrying about what people are saying, or what things keep getting in your way, or what the devil is putting in your head, spend time focusing only on just it's a lot of stuff you can learn, but focus on what God says about you and how he feels about you, and then build on that. Because when you realize that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, which means all the stuff that anybody could say about you, you were made on purpose to be exactly who you are. You were not anybody's accident. You were not anybody's mistake. The mistake may have been on somebody else's part, but you're not that mistake. So when you start to think about that your outcome is already predestined, and that all you have to do is navigate your way, figure out what that path looks like, ask God to illuminate your path for you, and then walk that path, you'll realize that all that other stuff is just noise. It's garbage designed to distract you and pull you off your task. I would tell you, don't try to worry about making your life perfect for God. Start thinking about learning and realizing what you mean to him, and then start putting into practice the promises that have been made to you. That looks and feels different to every person, because you interpret his promises based on your needs. So when you start to think about, at some point, all the promises are there, but you pick out the ones that are based on your needs. So when you start to look at those things, start thinking about, what does God say about me? And is that's what's true, which means everything else can't be. And then you set yourself a goal that makes you climb to each next step, whatever that happens to be. If it's getting out of high school, make that the thing. If it's getting to college, make that the thing. If it's getting to the military, whatever it happens to be, make that the thing. Don't make it so broad that you say you want to be a millionaire when you turn 45. Don't do that. How do you look? What are all the steps between there? Start taking the steps. When we look at such a big, broad picture, it looks like it's impossible to do. But if you think about what each step is, and then celebrate every win along your way, you'll be there before you know it.
Right, I totally agree. And this thought. A lot of times, I know we pray for God's will, but
Mhm.
then we go and do our wills. A lot of times, God gave us free will. Everybody got a free will, but there is a will of God. So we need to pray for God to line our will, let our will align with his will. So
Mhm.
we'll be on the same page. Like I say, we
Agree.
continue to pray for God's will, but then we still want something else. We still go in another direction. Let's God align my will with your will.
Right.
Okay, so you started a little bit. I talk about you going to UF. So what's that process? Now you just barely made it out of high school. So how did it go from high school to get into that college? How did that work out? That
Well,
university?
well, remember, I barely got out of high school, not because my grades were bad,
Okay.
and not because I took the ASVAB and passed it on the first try. I mean, like blew it out of the water without even trying. It wasn't that I was dumb; it was that I wasn't focused.
Mhm.
So I knew I had enough sense to know I had to get decent grades. I had to get good grades, because I couldn't take home a bad report card. I just played all along the way. So the minutia, the stuff that was trapped in the middle of all of it, like going to see your guidance counselor and making sure that your classes that you're taking actually are the classes you're supposed to, like that was the stuff I didn't do. It
Okay.
wasn't the rest of it. I had to have the grades. So getting into UF was I got into to several colleges when I applied. My goal was to go to UF, but I applied to many. And that's the other thing, because I wasn't sure I was going to get in. It was I couldn't apply when I needed to at early, when everyone else was applying early, not the UF, because they needed everything to be on your transcript and you were enrolled in all your classes at that time. And remember, I had to go to night school to get my last class. That wasn't on my transcript yet. So with that being the case, I applied to all these other places, but favor. It was definitely favor, because what happened was I was able to get the class added to. See, that's what I tell you too. I wasn't dumb. I was able to manipulate the system in a way that allowed me to get the class on my transcript. I registered for it even though I wasn't going to take it until the next semester. I registered for it, and then when it showed up on my transcript, I dropped it and then registered for it for the next semester so I could get it on my transcript. But I applied to multiple places and got into multiple places. I knew, though, knowing yourself too was another big thing, because everybody at that point, all my friends were going to FAMU. I wanted to go to FAMU, but I knew I don't need to go to FAMU. Too much of a distraction. I would still be in. I'd still be an undergrad if I went to FAM. I'd still be an undergrad right now. I wouldn't have all these degrees. I wouldn't. I'd still be an undergrad if I went to FAM. Still probably trying to be in the band. I mean, just so I would still be doing something crazy if that were the case. So I had to realize that I couldn't follow the path everyone else was following, even though I had that desire to do so. I wanted to go with my friends, and they went to FAM. Some of them got out, some of them didn't. I would have been one of the ones still there. Um, but I had to realize that there are certain paths that I needed to follow, and I had to figure out what those were and be comfortable walking them on my own, walking them without other people. Because I had some friends, honestly, who couldn't get into Florida. They couldn't. They were laughing at me. How you got in there?
Mm-hmm.
While y'all playing, I'm doing my work. Just that kind of thing. I was always smart enough to know that, and plus I had some really good teachers. One of which is one of my link sisters now, which is still very odd to call Mrs. Rent's link Dolores. It's still very hard to call her my link sister, but she was that lady was mean. That lady was mean, and she was like, "You gonna get your little black blinkety blinkety bleak out of school. Now that you gonna do." So, it was also people, God strategically placed people in my life. And I had to be open to their ideas and their correction, even when I didn't understand it. So yeah, did she get on my nerves? Yes. Was I one of the people that opened the door and threw that? Let me see, the statute of limitation ran out on this yet? Yeah, it's about a long time ago. Was I one of the people that opened up and threw that firecracker and stuff in her classroom? Yeah, I was with them. I was with them. I didn't throw it. Wasn't gonna get my fingerprints on it, but I was there and I ran and I laughed. So that kind of stuff, were those kind of things were I had to realize that there was something different about what my path looked like, and I knew it had to be different because you know being being a preacher's kid, you got stuff, stuff gonna be all over you, so, and people praying and all this stuff is happening. You can't run from that stuff. It always you always got that thing that just says, we now name it Holy Spirit. We call it that. It has a name now. But as I went through life, a lot of times it was just that thing that was like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. Even though I thought about it. I thought about it and wanted to. Just nah, I can't be the one to do it. I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. So yeah, it's getting into UF was a trip. Staying in UF was a trip. Um it was a great time. If I had to go back to any stage of my life, I would go back to the University of Florida as an undergraduate student during that time, when I was there, because it was amazing. Grad school was great. Um, I didn't want to leave. I got married. Got married when I was in undergrad. My husband graduated the semester before. No, he graduated 2 semesters before me. That's how I ended up um, initially moving to Jacksonville. Was he graduated and moved, got a job here, got job in Gainesville, and then after working there for a little bit, got a job in Jacksonville, which caused me to go to Jacksonville and start my teaching career. So it was just that in itself was a huge transition. It was a huge transition for me because I was from Gainesville. So staying in Gainesville and working in Gainesville and all of that was kind of like what I was going to do. My goal was to be the mayor of Gainesville. Still may be, never know. So that was my goal at that time in my life. And then life happened and life changed, and I ended up in Jacksonville in the classroom at Rains High School as a first year teacher.
Wow. So you made to the teacher. I'm gonna pop up some comment. Just got to. This was from a while ago.
Wow.
Dr. Willie Hall,
What you
and
want, Brother Willie?
I
Minister Willie?
think she's talking about, like you were talking about your teacher. You said the
Yeah,
teacher was
she
mean.
was. She was, Sharice. She was. And still is. She's still, and she's, I think she's, and see, they hit you back then. She still hit me. She still hits me. You know, I don't hit her back because, that's Miss Rents. Miss Rents.
So, so you made out of high school and college. So it sounds like you were in college a long time.
Joe, what does that mean?
No, I'm talking about no
Yeah,
different. Not that
yeah.
you wasn't making. I'm talking about different levels. You kept going higher and higher. That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. I was in college a long time. I was in college a long time for real. And actually now considering going back and getting another degree. I just sent some information off, and if they're gonna pay for me to go, I'm going to get another doctorate. Go get something else. I'm a lifelong learner. I've committed myself to always growing and always. I never want to stop learning and growing, and I think that is one of the things that keeps me motivated and moving. um, I like I like transitioning and transforming myself into a better me, and I try to make that a thing that I do every day. I have a warning, an alarm that comes up on my phone at 6 p.m. every day, and that alarm that pops up, it's for me to do my check of the day. It's my performance check of the day, and what that means for me is that at 6 I need to pause and say, or right after I see it, because 6 o'clock on some nights I'm in class, but to pause it, to pause and really evaluate my day and see if I did anything to make someone else's life better and if I did anything to make me better. So me better as a person and someone else's life better. And then to look at what were the returns on my investments of the day, whatever that happened to be. Did I spend time in something and get something done, or was it a waste of my time? So that I can really try to set up what's next for me, and having that alarm that pops up every day, Saturday, Sunday, it came on tonight, Saturday, Sunday, whatever day it comes on, it really keeps you focused on like, okay, I know at some point today I'm going to have to check myself. So let me make sure that I'm doing something good for someone else and also bettering myself in some way today. Sometimes that's just reading an article. Sometimes that's having a conversation with someone. Sometimes that's reaching back to one of my elders and asking a question or hearing a story. Sometimes it's finding a way to just do something for me. Um, Whatever that happens to be. But I always have to make sure those two things happen every single day. And I'm accountable to myself when that alarm goes off, because I have to pause and do an assessment of my day to make sure that somehow I've impacted someone and that I have done something to make myself better that day.
Wow, man, that's good. Every day, checking yourself.
Yeah, set that alarm on your phone. It's gonna aggravate you sometimes because you're like, I'm in the middle of something, and you got that little thing. You're like, you got to turn it off. So it's coming. So in the worst case scenario, it just makes you think about just evaluate your day. Evaluate your day. Did you do something for someone else? Did you make somebody else's life better by something that you've done? And then did you make yourself better? Did you kick a habit? Is today day 3 of no sodas? Is today day 5 of no cigarettes? So whatever it is, whatever your vice happens to be. I've never been a smoker, but I that's a vice, sometimes. So, it's today day 3 of no cake, whatever it happens to be. Check it and see what you've done for yourself as well. Did you read something? Did you talk to somebody and learn something? Did you give and did you get something today that makes you better?
Amen. Yeah, that's always my prayer. I pray that I don't waste a day. Don't let
Yes,
this day be wasted and useless.
yes, yes,
I got,
yes.
I'll pop up some comments. This is from Tammy Hall.
Ichiban #1. You know it, girl. Ichiban #1, girl. You know it. You know it.
Series.
Agreed, Sharice. You're right. You're right. We need more Miss Rinces and Cynthia Mangos and Donna Cowards and all that other stuff. And as I'm talking to teachers now, in my role now, as I talk to teachers, I tell them, you'll be the only fourth grade teacher. You'll be the only fifth grade teacher. You'll be the only kindergarten teacher that this child will ever have. Will they remember your name? And I tell them, think about if they had to come and speak at your funeral, what would they say about you? What's memorable? And I can tell you all of my teachers that I had that were impactful in my life, from the time that I was in elementary school. Like I said, the Donna Cowards, the Cynthia Mingos, the Wilhelmina Speeds, all of these people who poured so much into us and would not let us quit, would not let us stop. That's exactly what we need right now. Exactly.
Uh, I gotta
That's right. Self check. Do it, Willie, every day. Set that alarm.
self check. So my next question. So, did you fall in love with learning, or was getting a doctorate your goal?
Ooh, that's a good one. So, that was when I was on this quest to make everybody proud of me. So, it wasn't enough to get the master's degrees. It wasn't enough. I felt like it wasn't enough. And I know that, my mom has always said she's so very proud. But until I was able to be proud for myself, it didn't really, I always felt like it was something else that I needed to do to be able to make up for like something that I don't even know what I was making up for. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous when you start to deconstruct these thoughts and feelings that really drive you and bind you. It's so ridiculous when you start to deconstruct that stuff. You can live on something that someone said, you'll never be nothing, and you are living a successful life and having great things and doing well, and that still you'll never be nothing is in your mind. And that kind of stuff, we have to pull those thoughts to the forefront and deconstruct those things. The Bible calls it casting down imaginations. I think you, in casting it down, you have to deconstruct it as well, so that it does not reappear. So that when it does reappear, you can very simply say that's not true. So I don't have to live in that. I don't have to feel that way. I don't have to be that way. I don't have to walk in that. Um, so in terms of getting the doctorate, I'm not sure what pushed me into the start of that. There was a group of us who started out saying we're going to go get these doctoral degrees, and a group of us started. Um, we didn't finish. Everybody didn't finish. I was the only one out of that group that decided to go together that actually finished it. Um, there were more in our cohort that finished, but a lot of those people we met as part of our cohort, not that started, let's go do this together. And that again was another opportunity for me to figure out sometimes you have to leave people behind, and walk alone. I think about, like I was listening to a sermon with Darius Daniels, and Darius was saying that Pastor Darius was saying that he's like, sometimes you have to lose a lot. And he was talking about the story of Lot and how, you know, when it was time to separate, everybody's growing so abundantly. And when it was time to separate, it was simply time to go. And it wasn't animosity. It was like, hey, you pick which side you want. I'm gonna go to the other one. You can have whichever way you want to go. I'll go in the opposite direction. And you got to sometimes be able to say, I can't, we can't exist in this same space, but I'm not mad at you. I want you to pick your place and I will go to the opposite way. And I had to make that, I had to lose a lot in that situation, to be able to keep going, because there were so many excuses and reasons, and I could have taken up any of those and they were all could have been legitimate, but I had more of a drive to finish than I did when I got started. And again, a lot of it was around race. Um, Understanding the number of African American women that have doctoral degrees from accredited universities that are high ranking universities. Those the numbers are abysmal. They're horrible. Um, so that was a goal of mine, is to add to that number, and then to encourage other people to add to that number, so that we can grow that population of researchers um, and theorists and academic, the whole area of academia, and really dig into and start pulling apart so many of these academic and social myths that we live under, because we simply don't read and simply don't engage in researching and other things. I was, so that became a drive for me. The drive for me in that space was to do it. Plus, I wanted that example for my daughter, so that she would know, for my girls, so that they would know that this is something that you too can do. And it's not closed to just men, and that you are able to do it. And that is why those of you who know me that are on here, I'm silly. I don't walk around, you got to call me doctor. I have colleagues who, honestly, if you don't refer to them as doctor, they don't answer you. They will keep moving like they don't even hear you. And I don't do that. I don't boast in it in that way. But what I do is I make sure that it's respected when it's not respected. And what that means, I've been in situations where we're going back into Black history. Here we go, Joe. They're gonna stir me up. It's about to get me. But you walk into situations where I'm there and people will come in and they will introduce themselves as doctor whatever, and then they will talk to other people of other hues or males and say, and nice to meet you, doctor this, doctor that, and hi, Kathy or Miss Barnes, good to see you. No, sir, that's Dr. Barnes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, Dr. Barnes. You're not sorry. You knew it before you said it. But there's a way to somehow, people use that sometimes to try to put you in your place, to see if you're going to stand up and say, absolutely not. As you said, Joe, I spent a lot of time in school, a lot. And that's going to be respected when you disrespect it. And that's the bottom line. And I didn't get it for that, but I'm definitely going to fight for it, because that means so much more than just being looked over. That in itself is blatant disrespect in a lot of instances, where people will simply disregard you because you are Black and because you are a female.
Hey, man, I want to pop this up. I went through some of the same things. A couple of us. I don't know. I'd probably get my glasses on. A couple of us.
No, I
we
got
would
it.
go to semi
Yep.
trucking school together,
Together.
and I am the only one that actually went through it with it. Now, 15 years later, I own my own trucking company. Sometimes you have to go alone.
Yes, ma'am, Tammy. I know who it's from. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I tell you, or I know for a fact that that is probably the hardest decision to make when you don't have clarity on who you are and what your role is and what your goals are. And when they're built around other people, you sometimes lack that clarity. But when you're clear, once I started my doctoral program, I knew that I was going to be doctor, period, no matter what. So, with that being the case, it didn't matter to me who fell off. I encouraged, I supported, I wrote papers for me. I mean, all of that to try to help people to stay. But if they weren't committed to doing it, I couldn't carry that burden and my own as well. So I had to walk alone. And that's probably again one of the hardest decisions you have to make sometimes. But what you realize is that everybody can't go everywhere with you. You can't take everybody everywhere. You simply can't. So with that being the case, that journey was one that we may have thought was something for us to do together, but it may have just been my journey. And who's am I to say anything any different?
That's right. Um, well, we done went around. What degrees do you have?
Oh gosh. Um, have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree in advertising and marketing. I have a master's degree in educational leadership. I have a specialist degree in curriculum and instruction. I have a doctoral degree in organiz. I'm sorry. I have a master's degree in educational leadership. I have a teaching certification, of course, and then I have doctoral degree in organizational leadership and conflict resolution.
Wow. Okay. As growing up poor, I don't even. That's thousands upon thousands of dollars you just listed right then.
Yep. That's
So
why I'm waiting. That's why I'm sending these forms to Biden. Get these loans off me, sir. Get these.
that's thousands. So now you said you were poor. You didn't see that mountain of money ahead of you. That didn't stop you. That didn't deter you from trying to go forward.
No, it didn't because two things. One, I firmly believe, and people call this blind faith. They say it all the time. They say it when I jump out of planes and zip line across alligators too. But they say, you crazy. You got this blind faith that just believes that everything's just going to work out. I do. I do. I don't know where it comes from other than experience and experiences. I also am a faithful tither, so I don't really worry about money. Um, I know that there's some promises that are attached to that, and that's my expectation. I have, like said earlier, I have expectations of my friends. I also have expectations of God, and I make them very clear to Him because all by reminding Him, sharing with Him what He said He would do for me. So I share that in my prayers. I share that in my regular conversations with God. But I did see that as a mountain. I had scholarships. I had scholarships. You have to look for where the money is. I had some grants. And I had to take out some student loans. That's why again, I wish if I was in my other office, I could show you my student loan forgiveness papers have been submitted. I am trying to get take them off, take them off. So if we praying, y'all, I know the hall's on here. So and Joe, you on here for the next prayer. Go ahead and throw in that get rid of her student loans. Put that on the prayer line. Because I'm like serious. I'm real serious. Like I'm dead serious. Put that on the prayer line for me. Put that on the prayer line because y'all know I'm on the plantation during that time. I miss it every time because I'm on the plantation. All right, but yeah, so that mountain of money, it's an investment. But what are you going to spend it on? Why not invest in you? We spend more time. I had a old white guy, his name, and I used his race because it's relevant in the story, not because it's relevant as it relates to who he is. But Herb Morris told me, he said, Kathy, I'm gonna tell you something. He said, I watch uh, people. He said, and people laugh at my car. They laugh that I wear khakis and collared shirts to work every day with Docksiders. I remember him saying it because I was like, what's Docksiders? He means Sperry's. Yeah, that's what he means. Okay, they're Docksiders. I get it. But when he went through, he said, People laugh at me, but follow me home. He said, follow me home. I invest in me and my family. He said, I don't invest in things that can be ripped here at school or can be thrown in the trash or things that are going to wear out. I invest in me and my family. So he was like, and what I noticed about Black people, you all wear your wealth to impress people you don't even care about. He said, and then you sell every piece of property you ever own. He said, every piece of property I ever owned, I've never sold it because that's how we leave inheritance for our families. He said, and most of you won't get life insurance. He said, because you don't think you're going to die and you don't want to talk about death. He said, but my children will be millionaires when I die. And now I would have left them an inheritance. And in that same conversation, he said, if you don't invest in yourself, you will be the most well-dressed, worthless, uneducated person you know. He said, you'll look the part, but you'll never be able to play the part. And that stuck in my head. That stuck in my head to this day. And I was like, I had to make investments in me so that I could reach my goals, but so that I could also be an example to people around me. And that's what it is.
That's a lot. That's deep. That's true. That's deep.
It's true.
I'll pop up some comments real quick.
Thank you. All right. I know it. I know you do. I know you do. Yep, it is true, Sharice. Yes, Brother Willie. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Okay, man, we've been going a while. So let's. How long? Yeah, it's almost power. Um. Okay, so now we got your degrees. You know you overqualified to be a mayor. You're overqualified to be a teacher. Why are you a teacher?
Yeah, that's not my only life. My
No,
life.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not my only life. I teach at the graduate level, at the university level, and I also work in the school system, and that's because somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it, and that's where my heart is. That's where my passion is, and I'm not in the classroom, but and even as an assistant principal and principal and working at the district level, even no matter what those roles were, I always missed as I continued to elevate in my career and change positions. It seemed like I got farther and farther away from what really mattered, and that was touching the lives of the kids every single day. And that still remains important to me. I would like to. I want to open a school. I want to open a school for knuckleheads that nobody else wants to deal with. And I want to open a school for those students who are caught right in the middle, because our low performing schools get so much, low performing students get so much attention, even though it's not always positive attention. They get so much attention. And our super high performing kids, they get, attention and accolades. But those ones that are right in the middle, who, if you could focus on them, and those are the good kids that don't get in trouble all the time. They may do a little quirky stuff here and there, and they try really hard, but they may not be your top flying kids. I want a place for them. I want a place where they can feel safe and where they can experience those accolades and still be kids. I want a place for them. I want to open a school that that is connected to and tied into a system of straight matriculation into post-secondary opportunities, meaning connected to a college where you complete here, you go. You don't you go for free. Like, we take away all those barriers. I had a desire at one point, notice I said had, still have had something in the middle of a boarding school. We talk so much about how parents don't pour into kids, and how kids, you do so much during the school day and then they go home and they lose it, or things happen because they have to live in a life is that a lot of kids shouldn't experience. And I wanted to alleviate that by creating a boarding school for that same group of kids who needed some additional support, and needed somewhere safe, a safe community, a safe home, a safe place where, with some very strict rules and some very clear understanding, but a place where it's an academy for learning and growth and development for the whole child, creating and connecting them with exposure, exposing them to opportunity. We talk about achievement gaps, but so much of the achievement gap is tied to the opportunity and exposure gaps that are out there. Opportunity gaps and exposure gaps are what create achievement gaps. And if we can eliminate some of those factors, we can really take those students and really watch them, help catapult them into really what would be a successful, great successful citizens who are contributing to our economy, contributing to our world, and making a difference in their own ways. So, I mean, if I had to pour out my heart and say what my desires are, those that right there is really what my desire is, and the move to Belize or the Dominican and live in a hut.
Huh? Oh, I guess they need you over there too. They really need you over there too.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. I want to do my work here though. There's a lot of work to be done here before we go off it, prancing off helping other people.
So I guess yeah, we've been up here an hour, but I got to get into it real quick. You, international speaker and international bestseller. Can we hit that? You went from pool girl. You told a story about how you barely made it out of high school, and you had to step out on faith and hold on to God to make it through college and all these degrees. But
Yes,
now
yes.
you Miss International. Let's talk about Miss International. You done left. You ain't in Kansas. You ain't in Gainesville no more. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I had an opportunity to collaborate with my first book. Had an opportunity to collaborate with some amazing women, and we created a an anthology of work, around helping teenage girls um, to really explore who they were and to really build their self esteem and their self confidence. And that book is a bestseller. Then I worked on a couple of other projects with I worked on one that is around school and school reform that I worked on with, a superintendent, a retired principal, a superintendent, and I we pulled together and we went to St. Louis and set up in Scott's cabin and wrote that book. We set up in Scott's cabin and wrote that book, and it too has done very, very well. There are lots of trainings that are built around that book now. We're still speaking on that book and still doing a lot of work with schools around that work. Then I wrote Sister Why You Hate Me, which is, another international book. That book has been used by sororities. It's been used by, um, lots of organizations. It's been used at women's conferences. It's been used on radio shows and other things. That has been, television shows, and we've had a great run with that book. I'm getting ready to re-release that book with some updated material in it and change the cover out and re-release that book. My goal is to have that done by the end of the year. Working on it now, pulling that together right now, and getting ready to get that out. Um, I was on a television show in Italy, and it was remote, but I was aired and broadcasting in Italy and sold so many books after that show around, Sister Why You Hate Me, and that book, simply because it really talks about the cycle of sister to sister destruction and how we like to call it a crab mentality, we like to call it whatever, but it's that thing, that allows us, that keeps us from being able to really support other women and pour into them, and have authentic relationships with women, as a woman, having authentic relationships with women without the the preconceptions and the backbiting and the pain and all of the attacks and those kinds of things. And that book, has done very, very well. So much so that my publisher is wanting me now to re-release the book. So I'm going to re-release it. I'm working on it now, updating some of the information in it, and hopefully we'll re-release that by shooting for like October. I'd like to have it out for my birthday.
Okay. We got to have you back to talk about your books.
Oh, yeah.
We got to promote that and get them out there.
Yes. When I re-release Sister, that's going to be another good one. That one's going to be, yeah, we need that. We need that.
All right. So I thought I was busy. You're a busy woman. Now let's go to what do you do for fun? How do you get some fun in there? You got to squeeze some fun in there. Or
Hey, you know me. You know what I do for fun. Travel. Go. Go, 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 go. I was speaking. Interestingly, I had a tonight at today at 2:00. I had a presentation today at 2 for to the sorority, and we were dealing with mental health and talking a lot about really kind of self-care and boundaries. And in that conversation, we were really pushing for making sure everyone understands how important it is to have boundaries and how to make sure that we adhere to those boundaries ourselves, but also hold other people accountable for those boundaries. And in that, it forced some really important conversation around some topics that we'll talk about more, I'm sure, in the future as it relates to women and how we deal with each other and how we move things forward. I thought I just saw something pop up on your screen. Joe, did something just pop up on your screen?
no, I just got a like.
Okay, something just popped up on the screen over here for me, so I don't know what was going on. But anyway, I'll be quiet. You.
No. We was just talking about how you got to get
Yeah.
some you time.
Yeah. So in that part of that boundary, setting some boundaries is around some time that I have to have for myself. So I created a self-care guide and be more than willing to share it with any of you who are interested. But that self-care guide, it really helps you to figure out what you're going to do for yourself every day, what you're going to do for yourself every week, what you're going to do for yourself monthly, and what you're going to do for yourself quarterly, and then annually. And what I do for fun is I travel. I travel. I travel. I love to travel. Travel is so refreshing. My goal is to make sure that I circle every continent again, except Antarctica. I'm not interested in going to Antarctica, but make sure I circle every continent again and make sure that I hit everything that's ever been a place that I thought I wanted to go, but maybe never could. My goal now is to make a list of those things and start knocking those off. Also, I'm working a lot on my writing. I enjoy writing. I enjoy writing books and writing stories and those kinds of things. So I'm working on that, and then trying to get some outside time and some energy, some energy boosting time, and some things where I'm building my physical temple as well as my spiritual temple. So that's where I spend my time and energy. I jump out of planes. I zip line over alligators. I do crazy stuff, ride motorcycles, that kind of stuff. But the other side of it is just finding ways to. I enjoy concerts. I enjoy music, all music. I just enjoy. I enjoy time with authentic friends and authentic family members, and people who are there to laugh with, but also to have fun with.
All right. So that's like a balanced life. Fun is part of a balanced life. Rest and relaxation. You know, Sharice can say something about me. But no, sometimes you have to plan it. Like what you're saying,
Yes,
you got to plan it. If you're
you
just
have
going to
to.
continue to work always going to be there.
It's
It's
faithful.
always going to be something else to do. You're
Work
never
is
going to spend.
faithful. I say it all the
So,
time. Work is faithful. It's going to be right where you leave it. Trust me. It is
mm,
faithful. It's not leaving you. It will be there when you get back.
all right. Well, I thank you for your time. Was there any final words that you want to say before we wrap up this evening?
Wow. No, just thank you again so much for taking the time to hear me tonight, for inviting me to be a guest on your great show. I'm super excited about having this opportunity to share and really just to talk a little bit about things that people may not have known, but really just to be very transparent with you about just kind of how possible things are for everybody. And it doesn't matter where you start, you can always start over. And it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't have to be where you land, or where you end up. So, as I always say on all my posts, permission to love yourself has been granted.
Amen. Again, thank you. Thank you for being on and representing women of the world for Women History Month.
That's
I'm going to
right.
be trying to invite some more women on before the month is out. So I thank you, and you're going to be back helping co-host some more shows with me, right? Right.
Of course, of course, of course. Let's pull together a panel for Women's History Month and talk about some racy topics.
Well,
I got some. Let's talk about church sex. Woo! Look how everybody got quiet. Look,
you can't talk about that.
Look how everybody got quiet.
Wait a minute. I'm looking at my. Can we do that?
Did we just? Did I curse? I said church sex. Did I curse?
Well, I guess you just started something. What about the 26th? I got an interview next week, so we got one more week. The 26th. You want that to be women's history?
We can.
Women's? Okay.
Look.
I guess what we gonna be talking about on the 26th? What we gonna be talking about?
Look. Let me look. Let me look and see. Nope. I think the 26th should be fine. I got something on the 26th, but I think it's in the morning, so I think we're good.
I guess Sharice asking why we can't talk about that.
Why we can't talk about what? Church sex with people in church? Because people in church don't have sex.
Yeah, it don't happen.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, there's some hard shows right here. You say you want to get a panel together?
What?
I go Willie Hall to us. So let's talk.
Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's look, Willie. They're gonna be so embarrassed. We might have to tone that one down, Willie. We might have to have that one in our care group or something.
All righty. I guess we might as well let's spread the word. In 2 weeks from now, I don't know how we turn that into Women's History Month.
No, if we talk about relationships from a women's perspective.
Okay.
And you got women talking about it.
All right.
Okay, never mind, Joe. Look, y'all, I'm scared. Never mind, Joe.
We're gonna make it happen.
Never mind. We can talk about something else. We'll do it later. We'll do it in our care group.
No, it came out. It's out now. That's what we're gonna do. In 2 weeks. What's that say? Let's talk about sex. Okay.
Hey.
You're supposed to say that. Yeah. Okay. We're doing it in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Look, or we can make it something else, Joe. I know it makes people uncomfortable. So
that's what we gotta do.
Let's come up with something else. Sharice, give it a different title. We done made Joe uncomfortable.
No, we gotta do it. It's I got a lot of other hard subjects we're gonna be discussing.
Let's just make it not about sex. Let's make it about just women, discussion with women about all those things, and we can bring out multiple topics. How about that?
Okay. But if I promote,
y'all trying to get me kicked out the church.
If I promote, let's talk about sex, I probably have a whole lot of folks up here though.
Yeah.
When I used to sell desserts, and Better Than Sex Cakes was the best seller.
That's right. That's right. I bet it was. I bet it was. I bet it was. You can say, let's talk about sex and other stuff.
That sounds good.
So it makes everybody feel a little more comfortable. You trying to get me kicked out the church? Willie, I'm gonna have to come to y'all house. They trying to get me kicked out the church.
This outside church tomorrow.
Right.
Church all the time.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, that's what this platform is for. This is what this platform is for. Talk about pretty much everything. A lot of stuff that people are afraid to talk about in church. That's kept secret. Hey, this is what the platform is for.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So again, I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that's watching now and people who are watching later. Thank you for your comments. Join us again next week, and then in 2 weeks we're gonna be talking about sex and more. All right, that's it. That's the subject. So again, thank you, doctor. Thank your husband for letting you spend this time with us. Again, thank y'all. Thank you, Sharice, for supporting us.
Yes, Sharice. Thank you.
All right. Be blessed, everybody. See you next time.
Good night.
Good night. Let me see. All right, y'all. Let me get my closing here. Again, like I said, thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for joining. And I should be better with this by now. Good night.